Hello everybody, hope you're all well. Here to talk to you today about the Bellicose Covert Ops. So bubbles are a thing now, officially, in nullsec. If you jump into nullsec, you're likely to land inside a bubble if it's a arterial route or a main route of a system. So this ship isn't a tremendous PvP ship, it's not a tremendous PvE ship, but it does have the very important Covert Ops cloak, which enables it to get around not having to worry too much about bubbles. The reason I've designed this ship is we have this current event on, Crimson Harvest, which is where you need to go fly around space, find an anomaly, kill a few waves of ships, and receive a container at the end, which could contain some of these new modules, target painters, warp scramblers specifically, and put them on market and make a handsome fee. Onto the fitting here, I've designed this more for PvP/PvE, which we're going to test. We've got 6,700 shield, almost 4,000 armor, and just over 3,000 hull. Looking at the offense, 408 DPS, which is very similar to a CNI. We've got a good amount of capacitor capacity with a decent recharge time. And if we look at the navigation, 352, which means I'm going to be hitting close to 2k PS with my micro warp drive, and my mass is fairly low there. If we look at the ship attributes here, for the advanced micro warp drive operation, you're having a minus 10% micro warp drive signature radius penalty per level, and the target painter of 7.5%, and advanced cruiser command, minus 4% sig radius, and 5% missile bonus velocity and 8% damage per level is what's boosting my DPS up quite high, but also I'm having a low sig radius. In the high slots, I've got Republic Fleet medium rapid launchers, which are now pretty cost effective on the market. I've got a Federation Navy warp disruptor, just in case I'm in a mission and something warps in. It enables me to tackle it. I've got a couple of stasis webifiers. I don't have any target painters yet, otherwise I might swap a stasis webifier for a target painter. Of course, we have the Mark 7 Covert Ops cloaking device, as you can see there, minus 43% scan resolution, which kind of sucks, and a 30-second activation delay. I've got a C-type micro warp drive. Again, these have come down quite a lot in price on the market recently, worthwhile having to maximize your speed tanking. I've gone for a medium shield extender. We'll see how this plays out. I feel for the PvE it may not be up to scratch, and I would potentially swap this Caldari Navy ballistic control system for a medium shield booster, enabling me to top up my shield either in combat or out of combat. Otherwise I have almost a static amount. For the rigs, 2 12.5% damage bonus rigs and one reload time of 7.5%. All of my rigs are for capacitor. I have one capacitor amount and 2 capacitor recharge rigs to keep my capacitor high enough at 6 minutes, which you can see just over there. If I were to unfit the a webifier, you can see that jumps up to 7 minutes. If I unfit another webifier, that jumps up to 9 minutes 40 seconds. So fairly stable. I could have a prolonged fight. If I do get into a scenario where I'm up against another ship, I should be able to keep some modules running long enough to take that ship out. So with the ship bonuses, we have a very low sig radius, we have a high speed for some speed tanking, and we have some good DPS offensive capabilities. Let's see how the ship does. So I'm warping now to a gate, which is a first entry place to a nullsec system. What I'm going to want to do is disengage my autopilot, and then I'll jump in so that I'm going to sit static on the other side, be able to assess the situation. If there's a bubble, I can pulse my micro warp drive, enable the Covert Ops cloak, and then try to head out to safety without anybody being able to lock up. And all clear. So moving on. I've jumped into this system here in nullsec, and I found a Crimson Cemetery, which is for this current event. I'm going to warp in now and see what's going on. So I'm enabling my cloak, and I've warped to the Crimson Cemetery. I think there may be an acceleration gate, so potentially should have warped in there at a greater distance, as you can activate the... Yep. So we've got an activation gate. I'm going to land within 2 kilometers, and I'm going to ruin my cloak here. My cloak has come off, and we've got that very long now 30-second delay to wait. So in hindsight, next time, or if you're doing this, always warp into one of these at range, as you can activate the gate regardless of how far away you are. So I'm waiting for my cooldown to finish on this Covert Ops cloak, and then I'm going to take the gate and warp in cloaked, just in case this other guy in system is inside this anomaly. And the cloak is on, taking the gate. Let's see what happens and how far we are away from possibly this other player and or the NPCs. So I'm setting my orbit to 24 kilometers. Might actually want to go a bit closer at 23, as micro warp drives sit out a couple of kilometers, and my maximum range is 25 with these Republic Fleet medium rapids. And as we can see here, we've got a bunch of T7 ships here. I've uncloaked, and I'm going to start increasing my speed. So what's really frustrating about this ship with the cloak is that a 30-second lock delay after coming out of cloak is literally an eternity. So yes, you have the element of surprise, but if a frig were to fly in now, it would be fine. I'd be able to lock the frig down, and even speed tanking these guys, you can see I'm taking very little damage. My shield is pretty much not even moving. If a frig were to warp in, I would be able to lock it down and see if I could do battle with it, and if it put a web on me, I'd activate my shield extender and hope that my DPS and double webs, if I could get the double webs on him, it might be an okay scenario. But if I were to warp into this anomaly and sit cloaked and wait for somebody to come in as an ambush, if I was perhaps set 30 kilometers away from these NPCs, there's a chance that the ship that come in to attack may not see me, because as you can see in the top right hand corner of the overview where you've got the list of all the ships, if I was the furthest ship away, the maximum you can see on the screen at any given time is 6. So I would show as not being on the screen. However, anybody that's half clever would have a overview set up and open, which would indicate that there's a player in this anomaly. And if I were to uncloak with that 30-second delay, the ship's gonna warp away and not have to worry about me too much, and so it makes it pretty tricky. So this ship, take it for what it is. And it gives you the ability to go out and do some ratting to bypass bubbles and not worry so much about losing your ship, because with a bubble, if you jump into a bubble, you can always try to get back to gate. There's a chance you might be able to. I've noticed you can be 3 or 4 kilometers from the gate and it'll activate. Bit weird in that sense, but if you're warping across a system and you land on a bubble, that's kind of a different scenario. That's when you'll be caught. And if you land cloaked, they won't even know you've landed or arrived, which is where this ship really, really shines. And it seems as if I can tank this anomaly okay. My shield's starting to go down now, which is a bit of a worry, as with an extender, when I pop the extender, it's a temporary amount of shield hit points which comes off after a certain amount of time. So in hindsight, if I were to do this again, I would swap my ballistic control system for a shield booster, a medium shield booster, and that would reduce my DPS to around 380, which is still sufficient enough to do this type of mission and not have to worry about it so much. And then should you come across another ship, perhaps a frigate, you have a opportunity to engage it. Now perhaps a fast faction frigate might fancy their chances against a Covert Ops Bellicose, thinking it might be an easy kill, but if I was able to get my 2 webs on it with my micro warp drive speed, provided they didn't have a warp scrambler, it would be a pretty swift demise for that frigate. So there is some potential with this ship, and I think it can be very, very useful, but the main thing is you're able to get out here into nullsec and do some ratting, take on the Crimson Harvest anomalies, and survive to tell the tale. You can also choose your engagements, you can scout, very, very versatile. And I'm not saying the fitting I have at the moment is the optimal fitting for ratting, not by any means, but as we know, for PvP, having the shield extender is a better alternative in a kiting or speed fit ship. And if I were to change it again, as I've mentioned, whack in a medium shield booster to be able to keep your shield topped up inside or outside of combat. You know, this is the first wave. I've been told that there's 5 waves, so there's a significant amount of engagement that I'd have to get through here to complete this, and so the shield booster would be more or less essential. Hopefully this makes sense. I'm not going to go through running this entire mission, but as we can see, it's very much doable, and it would be even easier if I had that medium shield booster just to keep it topped up. Being able to speed tank in this ship with its low signature radius means I would only have to pulse my shield every so often, and I don't think I'd have to warp out between the engagements. And if somebody were to come along in a cruiser, there's an opportunity that I could potentially kite them as well and take them out. And if it was a frigate, I would be very happy and I'd be rubbing my hands together. So I fast forwarded to the second wave here, guys. You can see my shield's quite low. I'm going to have to warp away at this point, and really regretting not having that medium shield booster. I'm going to change that and come back and continue this. Hopefully this guide's helped you. As always, if you enjoy my content, it would mean a lot to me if you could subscribe and let me know in the comments below if you have any questions. Thanks for watching.